Welcome back to the new norm. I'm Dr. Lou Graham, and this program is brought to you by Midway Dental and Catapult Education. My guest today is a really close friend of mine, Dr. Jeff Horowitz from Conway, South Carolina. But before I get to Jeff and really share the next, I'll say this will be a very much of a fun interview. I want to talk about the latest in testing, and I'm one who just follows this, and I just want really great testing. We all do. So out of Israel, an announcement came that a Professor Gabi Sarusi out of Ben Gurion University has developed a breathalyzer test. And using spectroscopy, what they do is they put a microchip in this breathalyzer, and as you breathe into it, they will take particles from the breath, put it on this microchip, and it's a very complicated microchip, I get all that, and it'll run through this spectroscopy setup. And basically what it will do is it will tell you within 1 minute if a patient has COVID or not. That would be unbelievable. Now, the pricing is going to be too expensive, I believe, for us to have in our offices. But if you could send to testing centers around the area and they could go in and know in 1 minute whether they have the virus or not. And again, it's not saying it's shedding, but if they have the virus, that would be groundbreaking. And it's all saved in the cloud. So it's an automated system saved in the cloud. That would be unbelievable in giving us future. Now they're talking October-ish even for that. So again, early testing, wanted to share that with you. Okay, so Jeff Horowitz. So Jeff has been in the midst of reopening his office, and I figure last week I had Peter Oster on, and we talked about some key products. I thought I'd bring Jeff on, and we talk about reopening the office. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Hey Lou, great to hear from you.
So you're down practicing in Conway. Tell me, with the limitations of PPE, of what's going on for all of us, we've all had to be a little bit resourceful, to say the least. Tell me what's going on as you're starting to reopen your practice.
Yeah, Lou, I think creativity is really the key word because, listen, there's limitations on masks, there's limitations on face shields, limitations on just about everything out there. So how do we open up safely for not just our patients, but for our team? That's really been the question. And so we've taken a lot of time to try to figure this out. And so we've done a bunch of things. I mean, starting with, we took all of our waiting room furniture, which was fabric, a really nice fabric. I was proud of my beautiful waiting room. But quite honestly, do I want to put a lot of disinfectants on that nice waiting room furniture? So
I know.
We had a portable storage unit brought in, and for less than $100 a month, I'm able to store my furniture all in a portable storage unit that's in my parking lot.
Right.
And we brought some. They're not fold-out chairs. They're nice hard surface chairs that are in the waiting room now, and I feel really good about being able to wipe those down. For people who have a lot of extra storage, you don't even need the storage unit. But for us, we're kind of running out of room here. With masks and face shields being so hard to get and needing to make those last longer, what can we cover them with? Using a surgical mask over a N95 or an N95, or finding a good face shield. In fact, we found some really cool face shields that weren't expensive at Harbor Freight Tools. We found them online, and that's been really good for covering our entire face, protecting us, and then allowing us to use those masks a little bit longer.
So let me ask you, as you start to, so let me ask you, are you fully open yet, or are you like doing a soft reopening? Where are you in that?
So we decided that if we were going to go back, that we were going to go back as close to a regular schedule as we could. Now, with some exceptions, no doctor or no provider in the practice is allowed to have a second room booked. So when we
Right.
open, we said you get one column because we've just got to be able to limit the traffic. We're using
Right.
our Weave application so that when our patients come in, they text us, they see that at the front desk, and then the front desk texts them back when they're ready to come in. As soon as we're ready for them so that they can walk straight back, we're asking them not to bring people with them. If it's a caregiver that has to come, then, we've got 6 or 7 chairs spread out, by about 7 or 8 feet on those hard surfaces. So we're accommodating them. But we're just trying to keep the traffic modified. And then on the way in, my front desk is taking their temperature and giving away a disposable pen. They don't sign anything that they hand back.
Yeah.
And it seems to be working really well. We're on as close to a normal schedule, other than double booking providers, and it's worked out really well so far, Lou.
That's great. It's interesting because Illinois, we're just getting back, and next week is my first soft launch week, and we're definitely going to be doing. We've changed our waiting room. It's crazy how empty the office looks. Everything's clean, obviously, and we're going to greet the patients and escort them right in. Whether we put them in the waiting room and go through their medical history, their COVID history one more time. They'll already been screened twice.
Right.
Exactly. So with all of that, I'm going to ask you a question. And more pointedly, my feeling is when you walk into a room and you're going to create aerosol, we're all going to be creating aerosol. Okay. Given that, let's talk about aerosol. So you're starting back up, you're doing procedures, and aerosol has had this taboo word where we still don't even know how contagious potentially aerosol even is with all the dilution and particles. But given all that, what are you doing for aerosol specifically in your practice? Then I'll talk about mine. Tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's really been first
Okay.
and foremost, I think, on everybody's mind is, that's what kept us limited to only seeing emergencies. And even when we saw emergencies, we did everything humanly possible not to create any aerosol. So during that time, we had some, we had a little bit of introspective time to really read up and look into what works, what doesn't work on aerosols. We did put ozonators in both of our offices. I think that, listen, that's a healthy thing to do anyway. So I had no problem with doing that. But I also realized that we need to be thinking about disinfecting many of the other surfaces in the operatories that we've really never thought about before. Things that we can't really wipe down, or things that we can't really spray directly. And how do we clean those? So in looking at that, my first thought was, well, how do other industries handle these problems? So we've seen how the airline industries have handled it with these e-misters that basically use an electrostatic misting technology, and they're misting a hypochlorite disinfectant on the airplanes.
Right.
So I started reading about this, and I looked into the e-misters. Lou, the e-misters were like $1,000, and you couldn't get a hold of one. I mean, they were on a 2-month waiting period just to get a hold of one of these e-misters. I'm like, well, that's not going to work. I can't wait 2 months to open. So I started looking into the hotel industry, and I realized that they were using a type of mister as well, and that they were using a peroxide solution, and they were using it like on their draperies and all the fabrics that are otherwise very hard to disinfect. So the more I read about this, the more that peroxide and misting technology made sense, but I needed to figure out, where can I get this misting or fogging technology if these e-misters are so hard to get a hold of? I was willing to pay the $1,000 if I could get a hold of one. I just couldn't find one where I could get it in less than 2 months. And then, of course, you have the people on eBay, that are gouging, buying them and selling them for double or triple the cost. So really the technology is exactly the same as what we see in these mosquito foggers that are available at any of your home improvement stores like Lowe's, like Home Depot, whatever you have around you. I found one at Lowe's, and again, this is not endorsing any one particular product. I just have a Lowe's right by my house, and I found one at Lowe's called it made by the Ortho company, and it's a mosquito fogger, and it's the same. It sounds horrible, right? But it's the same electrostatic misting technology that's used in the e-misters. The only difference is it's meant to be used over a larger area, so that's one that's usually used outdoors. So I read about it and I said, is it safe, to put these disinfecting agents into a mosquito mister? And the more I read, the more I found out that a lot of people are already doing this. The caveat is you can't really use a machine that's ever had any kind of a mosquito repellent or pesticide or herbicide in it, which is, I think that's very logical, but, I just wanted to say that in case anyone says, oh, I've got one of those in my garage. So, but anyway, I said, let's give it a try. And so we purchased a bunch of peroxide solution at 3%. It's said to kill the coronavirus in 1 minute or so. Our protocol is just for safety. We've decided to let it sit for at least 3 minutes. Much of it evaporates because it's a fog. So much of it evaporates on its own, but we let it sit 3 minutes, and anything that we don't want to have remain moist in any way, I have the assistants go in and wipe down. Just to make sure that the floor is not slippery or, any of the surfaces have any moisture on them. So we've been using this technology, the peroxide solution, 3%. We were able to find it, again, being creative. I'm like, where can I find this in bulk? I found a veterinary supply that supplies this 3% solution in bulk. And we're also using that 3% solution, cutting it in half as a pre-rinse for our patients, because it's been shown to be very effective at killing the coronavirus on contact, if not within a minute. So we're cutting that solution in half for our mouth rinses, putting it directly into our misters, and anytime there's an aerosol in the room, that entire room gets sprayed down.
So, Jeff, let me ask you this. So let's focus on this because this is new, and we're going to be getting into fogging with you and a couple other presenters on the new norm. So you're using a 3% solution that you're purchasing by the gallons from a veterinary online supplier, basically.
Correct.
You bought a fogger from Lowe's. How much were the foggers from Lowe's?
$100. $100.
So I want everybody to understand there are alternatives here. So let me ask you this, Jeff. You go in after, let's say you're about to walk out of a room. I just had this with my team about fogging. Okay. My feeling is if you're not going to take off your garment, if it is not soiled, are you going to fog yourself before you go out of that room and wait the 1 to 2 minutes as you described before you exit your room? What are you doing that way?
You hit the nail on the head, Lou. That's exactly what we do. Great. Because how long is it taking us to get dressed and undressed for these procedures? I mean, I only can run one room, but it's like, okay, Dr. Horowitz, we're ready for the implant. All right, give me 10 or 15 minutes to scrub in and get ready for the procedure. And by the time you adjust your loops and the masks and all this stuff, it's like you've lost 15 minutes of your appointment. So if I can at least keep my gown on, save my N95 mask, and even spray down the shield that we're using, it just makes all the sense in the world. So as I get ready to walk out of the room, they're there with the mister, and I will actually get misted head to toe, and I'll turn around. And that allows me then to continue using that same gown. I don't touch it. We let it sit for 3 minutes. And then I'm very comfortable. What's nice about these face shields that we found is it's a very clear and durable plastic, and we're able to wipe it down, and we're not getting a lot of smudge on the masks. And I have, in fact,
Right.
mine is sitting right here. I'm gonna pull it in front here just to show you. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's available at Harbor Freight.
We'll tell Midway to look at this.
Yeah. And I'll send some photos.
Okay.
in. But what's great about the shield is it comes down well in front of the loops, so I don't ever have to mess with my loops during the procedure. But I can also lift it up just like a welder shield and talk to my patient when I need to. But yeah, we're misting everything.
Jeff? Mm-hmm. Right. So Jeff, do you take off the shield and then mist it? You're not misting it while you're wearing it, I'm assuming. You're misting it after it's been taken off your face.
No,
correct?
I want it misted before I touch it.
Okay.
So I don't even want to touch that thing until I've been fully misted. And at that point, then I can lift it off. I'll have my gloves off. Now I feel comfortable lifting it off. So if there's, anything on there, I can feel safe about it.
So your eyes are fully protected while you're misting.
Correct. Yeah, because the shield is all the way down.
Okay. Right.
And typically I'll still have my
this.
loops on as well.
Right. So let me ask you this then. Patients walking into your office, there's been nothing, this has been a big debate. Do I gown them? Do I not gown them? Have you ever thought about fogging the patients, like letting them wear some goggles and just fogging them and then bringing them into the office? Or do you think that's just crazy?
Yeah, I have thought about it. One of the things I've been really excited about is the reception of the patients to us letting them know how we're trying to protect them and them wanting to come in. It's been really exciting. They want to come in. They want to take care of their teeth. They want to have their work done. I'm afraid if we go over the top on them, that maybe we start throwing up some things that might scare them away. And I feel like with everything that we're doing, that they see the protection. In actuality, they're protected. And we also let them know that we're fogging each other on the way in and out the door. And, we made a little joke that, misting is not only for our PPE, it's for our peeps. It's on the way in the door, and I made a funny video about it, and I posted it on Facebook. You might have seen it.
Hey, Jeff?
Yep.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. So one of the concepts with fogging or misting could be, like right now we are putting our patients that we're creating aerosol, we're putting a surgical garment on them to protect their clothes and everything else. We are doing that in our practice. I go back to how we started this conversation. There's limited PPE out there.
Yep.
If we tell our patients what we're fogging them with, and we fog them before they walk in, and then we actually fog them afterwards because there's aerosol in the room, there's still that concept. It would be interesting. So let me ask you, have you seen any bleaching effects from the 3% when you're fogging?
We've been using it 2 weeks, and we have not. And what's interesting, you would think, especially these disposable gowns, you would think that we would have seen it getting misted, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 times a day. And I've even had 1 or 2 gowns that we've used a second day just because the new supply didn't come in time. And I've not seen any bleaching whatsoever. I mean, we know peroxide can bleach to some degree, but it evaporates so quickly when it's put on as a mist that I think as long as we're using the right distance with the foggers, which is typically recommended to be about 3 or 4 feet, that we're really getting more of a mist that's going to evaporate as opposed to something that's just on there and continues to soak the patient. Do I think that that's a possibility? Sure.
So we had Paul Sagal on from P&G, and he is Mr. Peroxide. He was great, fun guy. He also talked about we could peroxide our masks inside and out. Do you do that? Are you decontaminating your masks at all?
Yes.
Your N95s. I'm just curious.
I am. Same thing. So
Okay.
after that's
Yep.
all done from 3 or 4 feet, we can take the same fogger and hold it up to the mask, and now we're good. Again, what does peroxide break down to? It breaks down
Right.
to oxygen and hydrogen. So
Right.
the other
Right.
part of this
Right.
is I want to use as few chemicals and throw up as few barriers for the team and for all the people in the office, who are worried about throwing all these chemicals out at everything. It's why we're not using the
So
iodines and the aldehydes and all that stuff.
right. So I would say this for everybody in the audience. The takeaway from today is there are alternative methods. Yes, I'm using HEPA filter purification systems in my room. I'm definitely going to be doing fogging. Jeff turned me on to this concept. I definitely think before I ever walk out of an operatory, I don't want to be walking around with any aerosol on my surgical gown, and I don't want to be replacing my surgical gown, especially for quicker procedures. So I think as we go through this new era, we're going to be seeing ways to be economical without at all being less safe. And I think that's the beauty of like today's show. And Jeff, I can't thank you enough. Really, this has been great pinpoint right to something very, very effective for everybody in the audience. I'll bet you I'll see you again very, very shortly, either on the new norm or a town hall, because this is going to be a very contemporary subject.
Oh, it is. We don't have room for a laundry room, and a lot of people out there can't afford it. So,
Yeah.
it's really helped us as far as being able to disinfect. And man, I appreciate you giving me a little bit of time
Thank you.
today, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you, my friend.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, buddy. Have a great day. So let me be clear. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. So what we want you to do is we want you to go to education@midwaydental.com. Shoot us your questions. We'll go right to the experts. I know I'm not the expert, so let's go ask the experts what we should be doing as our next step next week, the week after, and thereafter. I look forward to hearing from you.